So self-care. When I was coming up with the idea for today's session, I really thought about self-care in a way that I feel like there's a lot of videos out there about this topic. And I feel like it's the big trendy thing to talk about self-care. But I don't think people really think deeply about what that means or looks like in their lives. And or how it can look like in their own specific life. Or let's say you see so first I'll get into why I called it what I did. So I'm calling it using self-care to create a safe attachment. Because what we're creating in this training is a safe attachment. So for those of you who did not watch day 2 of the training, we talk about attachment patterns to our parents, how they may have been toxic or not served us or served us by helping us survive our childhood so that we could grow up to make the impact we're here to make, and then realize, oh crap, that was a survival pattern. Now I get to see, all right, I had a survival pattern. I get to look at it, acknowledge it, love it, kiss it on the forehead, send it on its way, and create a new self-attachment. A lot of people, or a new safe attachment. So safe attachment would be in your childhood if you had parents who loved you and were there for you, and they let you know that they loved you, and they let you know that they were there for you, and they weren't an on again, off again love. They weren't an isolation love. They made you feel safe whether you were alone or with them. Okay? Not many people have a safe attachment pattern. Also, what I didn't talk about and what I did later throughout the rest of the training was that you can create a safe attachment pattern not only through your own methods later on, but that you can have multiple attachment patterns to multiple things. So for instance, I have a safe attachment pattern to my mom, but also a little bit of anxious because she was scared of my dad. I have a disorganized attachment pattern to my dad. I have a anxious but moving towards safe relationship with money. Okay, so I'm still working on money as well. I'm doing these trainings all the time, every day, talking about staying in an abundant mindset. I do, but at the same time, I do, just like everyone else, I'm human. So we all have our shit, right? So it's important to remember that and to know that self-care doesn't have to be perfect or pristine. That's the first the first thing I wrote down is it's okay if self-care is messy. And I'll talk about that in a second. Debbie says she's been walking through breakthroughs. Yes, Debbie is a walker every morning. Catch her posts on Facebook about how she walks. That's another thing about self-care is that self-care can be meditation in the form of action. So self-care can be like you're washing your dishes and meditating at the same time. Action-oriented meditation. It doesn't have to be sitting home, you know what I mean? And this is what I mean about it's okay if self-care is messy. And we'll talk about that in a second. What are you doing for self-care right now? Like literally in this moment. Because you guys, what I'm doing for self-care right now is drinking out of this. Right? How cool is that? Root beer, of course. I'm sober. And I need sugar. No, I don't need sugar. I want sugar. So what are you guys doing for self-care right now? Are you sitting in a comfy seat? Do you got a blanket? Are you watching this video and that makes you feel safe? For me, it's a mermaid tail mug, okay, with root beer in it. Hi, Gail. Welcome. Hi, Kyrie. Yay. Everyone's talking to one another. I love it. Marina said, my weekend, I went to Mexico, to seek affordable medical treatment for myself and my daughter. That's amazing. Speaking about money, Marina says she's trying to find ways to make things work financially for me and my family. So what I suggest, Marina, is instead of, and this isn't to make you feel bad, but is to use another word besides trying. So instead of trying to find ways, because the universe will hear you say you're trying and you're trying to find, and it will say, well, she likes to find and she likes to try, so we'll keep giving her more stuff to try and find. So I suggest you say, I am committed to finding ways to make things work financially for my family. Or I am committed to, it is my intention to. It is my intention to be in a state of abundance so that all the money in the world can come to me. That can be as simple as that, right? Hi, Erin. Hey, all the tribe. Kyrie says, I'm learning to practice self-care on the uncomfortable levels or all the other ones I have ignored. That is a good, when we're talking about self-care in uncomfortable levels. I'll talk about that in a minute because what self-care really is looking in the mirror and saying, I'm valuable enough to do this. And for a lot of people that don't have safe attachments to their parents and other things, it's hard to look in the mirror and say, I and valuable enough to do this for myself, because we never were taught that we were valuable. Or for the most part, people in this chat and in this group, we're never taught you're valuable, you matter. And so for us to do something for ourselves, it's like us saying you're valuable and you matter. And it's hard sometimes to do that and just sit in that knowledge quietly. So that's why I'm doing this training and why I'm doing the master course, so I can support people in not only being able to look in the mirror and say that, but to take it into their lives, create that safe attachment with themselves. Because remember, when you create a safe attachment with yourself and with your family now, you are changing DNA patterns in your family, and you are creating safe attachment even back to when you were a child, because you are fixing those little broken, right? So there were times when you were a kid where like you had to confront your parents, or they made you feel like crap, or they made you feel isolated. There were holes right there, right? So as you fix and heal and feel better now and do self-care and start valuing yourself, you are filling up those holes of the past. And know that your parents or anyone else that you don't have a safe attachment with, even to this day, don't need to do any work. They don't need to show up any differently. It's you, right? So when you heal those things within yourself, it heals that in your past. It releases subconscious and unconscious things in your body and in your brain and in your whole body health, really, that allow you to move forward. For instance, a lot of you watched my story yesterday. Yesterday it was a pretty long video, and it was about my story from drug and alcohol addiction, and from growing up in an alcoholic family, and sleeping under bridges, crack and meth addiction, like really dark stuff. And how I, over a period of years, healed those things so that now I don't have those holes that need fixing, or those breaks. You know, I still go into that space sometimes where it's heavy, but I have healed and created a safe attachment. So even if I think of or sometimes relive those memories, I don't go to the same place I went when I was in the memory. Does that make sense? So instead of going back into the place I was when I was sleeping under bridges or whatever, I can look at it like I went to a psychic once, and she said, "You have writer's block." And I was like, yes, because at the time I really had writer's block. And I was like, whoa. Actually, at that point, I wasn't surprised anymore when people told me stuff like that, especially psychics. So I was like, yes. And so she goes, what helps me is to pretend. She goes, I love the Beatles, and I just pretend I'm in a yellow submarine under the ocean. So she goes, pretend you're in a submarine and that you are looking into your life. You're not a part of what happened. You're looking into it from this pulled back state of view. Okay? So it's like you're able to pull back, look out this window, and whatever metaphor or analogy or whatever the word is, metaphor, I think, works for you, do that, right? So know that, and this happens with combat veterans too, that have gone through, that have gotten maybe blown up in is it IED? Yeah, IED. That have gotten into terrible combat traumatic situations. And they've gone to therapists, and I forget, is it attachment therapy? There's a type of therapy where you say the same story over and over again. And you record the story where the traumatic thing happened, and you say that same story over and over again to the therapist, and they record it. And you go home and you listen to yourself telling the story over and over. Now, that sounds like torture, but it's not, because after you listen to it over and over again, your brain and your body and your trust system, you know, your emotional bodies, get so used to hearing the story over and over that it becomes like nothing, right? It starts to become like, oh, that's just something that happened in my life, right? That's the same thing about creating neural pathways of safety, right? So I don't know how I got into that, but we're talking about how self-care creates this safe attachment. And everything we're creating in this whole free training, plus the 12-week training that's coming up, is about how to create or recreate that safe attachment so that you are healing all of the things in the past that left you feeling open and raw, that are still leaving you feeling open and raw, right? So like I said in day 5 of training, you have the power to completely heal all of your familial and generational trauma in your lifetime. You have that power. So just by doing it for you in little ways, step by step, you will do that for your whole line going back and your whole line going forward. So you have that power. All right. Hi, Catherine. Welcome. Hi, Michael. Welcome. Ashley says, this weekend I meditated by a lake in Acadia National Park. That sounds amazing. Gail says she snuggled with a dog in a blanket. That makes me so jealous. Debbie says she's in a comfy seat enjoying this video, finishing a piece of cheese. Yay! And I got my root beer. For those of you who don't know and have just entered the chat, it's very important that you know that I'm drinking root beer out of this amazing mug. Just had, you just, it's important. Marina says, my self-care is watching your video. Aww, I freaking love you guys. Uh-oh, my comments are stuck. Oh, no, they're not. Catherine says, watching this video and at my vegan good food. Yay. Kyrie says, that mug made me laugh, and I might be in love with a root beer myself. Oh, she's watching me on Starbucks Wi-Fi. Hi, everyone at Starbucks. Okay. Leah says, I have 2 kids. Daughter is 5 years old and son is 5 months old. For self-care, I chant mantras in the shower, as some days that's the only me time I have. It's a great purifying exercise too. Leah, that's amazing. And I'm going to tell you that I do a lot of psychic work, clairsentient work. I clear energetic blocks for myself and others. So for me, the work I do in the shower is invaluable. I'm not even joking. So like when I'm in the shower, I have the hottest water on me ever, and I get a lot of information from spirit in the shower. So I totally understand that. Don't have children, so I don't understand that part, but... Oh, Angela said she jogged in Herman Park. That is amazing. Okay, so the first thing about self-care I want to talk about is that it has the healing power to create a safe attachment where there was not one when you were growing up. So that's going to support you in the how. So if you're watching my video from day 2 and you're like, oh my God, everything's messed up. There's all these attachment patterns, disorganized, avoidant. I avoid everything. I don't know. But what do I do about this and how? So this is the how. This is where the how comes in, right? So you're able to have self-care care for yourself. And that's the how. So the first thing I want to say that I wrote down is that it's okay if self-care is messy. For instance, I feel like like I said, self-care is becoming trendy, and it becomes to a point where it's like, I did self-care today. I had strawberry, mint, Epsom salts, and crystals placed 2 inches aside in my iron-footed tub, and I had, like lighting and candles all over, and I had my like little thing on the bath where I could read my book and drink hot cocoa, and a lot of people don't have all those things, or when you believe that self-care, the only way you can have self-care is by doing that, it kind of sets you up to feel a little bit of like shame, or also a little bit of perfection, like it needs to look a certain way. And that kind of bothers me about the whole self-care thing that's happening right now. Yes, it's important to really luxuriate yourself. So if that speaks to you, and like the candles everywhere and crystals speak to you, do it. That's amazing. I'm not saying that's bad, but I want people to know that self-care can mean getting a fat cheeseburger in your sweatpants. That's what self-care can be. Going to the grocery store in just sweatpants, looking like crap, getting all of the grossest food, and just going home and stuffing it all in your face, watching a marathon of Lord of the Rings all weekend. Not that I know anyone that has done that. And just literally laying back and receiving. Okay? And that's another thing I want to say about messy self-care, which can be so fun, because what's cool about messy self-care is that you can just show up however you want and just feel however you want in the moment, and create a kind of childhood playfulness of playing in the dirt or dancing all over the place or just letting your body go, or just, we're human beings. A lot of times it's like, oh, I can't eat that or drink that. It's bad for me, whatever. I'm not saying to go buy a 12-pack and go drink yourself into oblivion or whatever, but just self-care can be messy. It doesn't have to look like this perfectionist self-care, right? So we're human beings. At the end of the day, sometimes we're freaking exhausted. The last thing we want to do is like set up this self-care ritual or whatever. If it just feels like laying down and asking somebody else to rub your feet for you, that's self-care. That's another thing I want to mention, is that a lot of times we get into this thing, and we talked about this in the giving and receiving module, I think it was day 4, about how healthy needs and unhealthy needs, and how we get into this thing of feeling like, I don't need you, I don't need anyone, I got this. And self-care in that context sort of becomes, self-care is just for me, from me, because I can take care of my own needs, and I have to create this whole ritual just for me, and everyone needs to go away. Well, as we all know, sometimes people have families. Sometimes we need people to show up in our lives and say, help me, I'm feeling exhausted, I need you to hug me. Okay, so self-care might mean for you, because you're someone that it's hard for you to ask for something from someone. So maybe self-care for you is going out of your comfort zone and asking your husband or wife, can you just hug me for like a minute straight? Because I need the oxytocin. I need arms holding me tight and in like womb comfort space, and just holding, being held for a minute, asking someone to show up for you in a big way. Hey, I need to lay down and my shoulders really hurt today. Can you just give me a neck massage? I'd really appreciate that. I'm really hurting today. So self-care, a big part of self-care that's really important is reaching out to other people and saying, I have this need and I would really appreciate it if you could support me in this need. I think a lot of times we get caught up in self-care as just me and only me, and I need to only do for me. And it's so important. Connection's the only reason we're here, to love and connect with others. That's the reason we have tons of people in our lives and that we go outside and there's tons of people everywhere. We're supposed to give and receive and let the energy come and go. We're all one, right? So a big part of self-care that people don't talk about is other people, okay? And asking for your healthy needs to be met, all right? There is a difference, of course, between asking for your needs to be met, like I need a shoulder rub, can you help me out? Or I need you to call me every day because I'm feeling like every time that I don't talk to you for 12 hours, I'm freaking out. Okay, it's important that you have your need be said, but it's also important to dig into that need and be like, what about me is desperate for that? Okay, so is it desperate, or is it just, this is something I really want, but I'm always afraid to ask, blah, 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 blah. Believe me, if these people in your lives are supposed to be in your lives, they'll hear you ask for something and they will jump on it like you wouldn't believe. They'll be like, oh my God, I'm so glad you asked me. A lot of people that have a comfort zone of not asking for somebody to help them with self-care, when they finally do, their loved one's like, thank God, this is what I've been waiting for. I said this in another video. I've been waiting for you to do this. I've been waiting for you to get angry. I've been waiting for you to confront me. I've been waiting for you to show up in your trueness, in your realness, in your rawness. So getting outside your comfort zone and saying, I never do this, but it would help me if you did the dishes for me, like instead of me doing them, because I'm really fucking tired of doing them. Of course, you'd want to say it in a way that's like, these are my needs and it would really support me to have these needs met. And if the person is supposed to be with you and in your life, they'll be like, of course, I would love to. I would love to support you in that way. And if they don't jump on that and don't say, I would love to support you in that way, it's time to evaluate or reevaluate that relationship, okay? So messy self-care, and self-care, it's okay to ask other people to support you in self-care, okay? And Crystal makes a good point here. Self-care can be just brushing your hair, okay? Just going into the mirror, looking at yourself in the mirror and brushing your hair. Yes, that's what it is. Debbie, when I was talking about vets with combat trauma, it's called prolonged exposure therapy. So saying the thing that happened and saying it over and over again and recording it and hearing it back, so it becomes like an everyday thing as opposed to the same trauma, re-experiencing that same trauma over and over again. Because that's what happens, especially in bad parents, when you had a negative attachment pattern to a parent in your lifetime and something happens to you where let's say you never confronted your father for doing something to you or treating you like shit or something, and then later you have confrontation issues because of it. It's like, when you are able to move through that, like I said, you're healing the original wound. So it's the same thing as moving through the combat trauma in order to heal that original trauma. Not heal it altogether, but to take away the sting of it, right? Okay, so we're talking about self-care to create a safe attachment within our bodies, okay? Everything I'm talking about in this whole training series, and which leads into the 12-week program, is all about how to recreate that self-attachment for ourselves and asking other people to support us in that with us so that we can feel whole, healed, and supported. And also not only holding ourselves accountable for our needs, but also holding the people in our lives accountable for our needs and their needs. So it's like this beautiful in giving and receiving energy, right? So the next thing I want to talk about, and I know, I have a feeling some of you guys have heard this, but self-care is not selfish. So I think there's a lot of people in this group especially, and also, I mean, in the world really, that believe that self-care, doing something for yourself is selfish, or that it's, you don't have time for it because there are other people in your lives that have needs. Like say you have a special needs child and you are exhausted because you never take care of yourself. Remember, first of all, you can't take care of your children unless you're taking care of yourself first. I mean, you can, but they're gonna feel it. Your children are gonna feel it. And not only that, but they learn from you by watching you, not even saying anything. Children are so perceptive. They are feeling, hearing, seeing, touching, smelling, tasting everything that you're exuding from your body. So if they see you, your movements are like in a tense state, they learn that that's how I'm supposed to move through my life. Or they watch you take care of yourself, and that's how they learn how to and pattern how to take care of themselves. So be really mindful about how you move through your life and how to take care of yourself first in order to take care of those that you love in the best way that you can, or in the most effective way that you can. Okay, not everyone's going to know how to do what to do in the moment. It's okay to be messy. Like I said, messy self-care. Okay, so one thing I wrote down about this, about self-care not being selfish, is it's not what you do during self-care, or it's not what you do for self-care. It's how you feel about it when you're doing it. So if you're doing something that feels like self-care, like Crystal said, brushing your hair, or laying down on the couch, or getting a huge fat cheeseburger and sweatpants, or having one of those beautiful luxurious bubble baths, whatever it is, how do you feel about it when you're doing it? So it doesn't matter the how or the what. If you feel like, oh my God, I'm taking all this time for myself, like I literally have a million things to do, like I have so many things I have to do, I have to, like, if it's the holidays, I gotta this and buy this and do this, and oh my God. How are you feeling when you are in a state of self-care? So if you're out getting a manicure and pedicure, if you're thinking the whole time, oh my God, this money could have gone to this and that, and I'm spending on this stupid thing that doesn't mean anything, which is bullshit, because that means the world. Okay, that's another thing I wrote down, is that self-care is not doing nothing. I think a lot of times we think of self-care, like for me, self-care will be laying down on my bed, eating sunflower seeds, terrible habit, or the crunch, not actual seeds, but like the crunch that you have to, like, that baseball players eat. I'm addicted to them. But anyways, so watching TV, laying down on my bed, eating sunflower seeds. It used to be that I would do that and think and feel really guilty that I had a huge list of things to do. And not only that I had a huge list of things to do, but the list of things I have to do, since I'm not doing them, I'm not taking care of business. I'm not being responsible. So I convinced myself that I was not being responsible because I was laying in bed doing self-care. But I want to be clear that when you are in a state of self-care, it could really sometimes feel like you're doing nothing. To you, it could feel like, oh my God, this is doing nothing. But I want you to say, every time you have this feeling of like, I'm not doing anything, I want you to say, I'm doing everything. Because when you're doing for yourself, or you're relaxing, or you're just being, remember, you're a human being, not a human doing. I want you to write that down. I am a human being, not a human doing. I am on this planet, in this world, to be. Being overrides doing. So your state of being is going to pull everything toward you. Yes, you have to take empowered action to get things done in your life. But if you take empowered action from a place of being completely frazzled and your energy space is effed up, everything that you do end up creating is going to be coming up or going down to meet you in that effed up energy space, right? So you might be working, but you might be working so hard, and everything that comes in from that work is going to be not serving you. Or it's going to be like, oh, I got a flat tire. Oh, I stubbed my toe. Oh, I sprained my ankle. Oh, my kid fell down. Oh, it's like, and then you get this idea of like, I have bad luck, or everything shitty happens to me all the time. But that's because you're in a state of action all the time without having taken care of yourself first, so that you're up on this a little bit higher in the energy space. So take care of yourself, up a little higher on the energy space. Everyone around you sees you taking care of yourself in this way, so they end up taking care of themselves that way. So the whole family benefits. So not only are you helping yourself, but you're helping your family rise up to meet you. And then all of the stuff that's on that higher energy level can come in to meet you. So remember, when you show up as source, however you show up as source is what you are sourcing. So if your energy is like, oh my God, every time I do something, it sucks, you're sourcing, it sucks, it sucks, it sucks. But when you're up in this space of, okay, everything's a little bit lighter, I've taken care of myself. Yes, there was a bunch of stuff I had to do, but fuck it, I didn't want to do it right now. I wanted to get a manicure and pedicure, and I did it. And then all of the things that are in that energy of like, oh, look, she's showing up like rebellious. She's like, I don't even care anymore. I'm doing what I want. Then everything that's in that vibrational energy is going to say, yay, she's here. We get to go meet her. Like, she finally broke through. Okay. So one example I want to make is I was working with my Reiki teacher. I'm a Reiki master. So I was working with my Reiki teacher, and we were talking about self-care and putting aside 1 or 2 days for the week, because I'm a doer. As you can tell, I've been doing this mini training for 8 days straight now, and I've been working every day. Like, I haven't stopped. I have been doing self-care every day, a little piece of it. and sleeping really well. So I am taking care of myself, but I'm a doer, right? So it's important for me when I'm not doing these launches, because this is just, I got to be going, right? So when I'm not doing these launches, I take time to, well, I also take time to be with family and do things like this while I'm doing them, but you know what I mean. So I am allowing myself to have a one do nothing day, right? And so I used to say, I was saying to my Reiki master, oh, I have one day where I write in my planner, do nothing. And it feels so good because the whole day is just me. I just get to do nothing. And he said, take that wording out. Don't write do nothing in your calendar. And that's when he said to me, right, you're doing everything, right? You're not doing nothing, you're doing everything, because you are the source of everything that comes to you. So instead of writing do nothing, I wrote, what did I start writing? Self-care day. So I started saying self-care day. And of course, sometimes life happens and the self-care day that you put aside is not the day that worked out. So when you get into that day and you're like, it's supposed to be my self-care day and all this shit happens, just go with the flow, do what you're supposed to do the priorities. Don't say like, oh, that sucks, or I'm not supposed to enjoy self-care, or see, it always happens, or I'm unlucky and I get hijacked. Just do what you're supposed to do in the moment. It's okay. And then trade it with another day in the week. Just pick another day when there's going to be less to do and make that your self-care day, okay? It's not doing nothing. So that's what I wanted to talk about with self-care, not being selfish, because it's everything, and it's not only for you, but it's for your family, and also to help repair, like I said, the damage or any holes or any attachment patterns that didn't serve you in your childhood as you keep creating this safe attachment pattern for yourself. Again, the topic of this talk is using self-care to create a safe attachment. It's not just about self-care for self-care, which is amazing in and of itself, but this topic in this group at this moment is about creating that safe attachment so that you can not only create it in the moment, but keep creating it in the future so that you are healing, like I said in day 5 of the training, that you are healing any familial or ancestral or generational trauma, not only in yourself, but in your family line. Because like I said, your source, everyone sees what you're doing, they rise up to meet you, and you are fixing and healing everything there, and it ripples. Everything you do ripples, okay? Okay, Catherine says, I realized I wasn't treated the way I wanted by a man. I moved on now on a deep level, and I'm not thinking about what he's feeling. I am feeling what I am feeling. I love that. I love that. Because a lot of times we'll break up with someone and we'll think, oh, I mean, that happened. So one of my intentions has been to be in a relationship, right? So I went on Bumble and I went on all these dating sites, and one of the Bumble guys, when you can tell after a while that it's not the right person. I used to like sit there and I would like apologize for myself. Not apologize for myself, but I'd say like, I just don't think we're a good fit and blah, blah. And I'd go on and talking about why we're not a good fit before I unmatched with the person. And now I'm just like, even if I talk to the person for a week or something and then I just feel like all of a sudden this isn't going to work, I'll just unmatch them. And I do care, but I don't care. Like I don't know this person. And if I feel like it's not a good match, then I get to stand in my power of knowing it's not a good match. Bye. I don't feel bad, right? And so, but of course I catch myself doing it and I still do it. So it's important that, like Catherine said, you're feeling what you're feeling. Cheers. Looks like a boot on the bottom. Angela says, so true. I feel the same way when self-care leads to guilty feelings. So I think I'm going to schedule my downtime so it's justified ahead of time. Yes, schedule it ahead of time. And gentle suggestion to take the word justified out of that sentence. You don't need to justify self-care. Okay, so let's see. So it's not what you're doing for self-care. It's how you feel about it when you're doing it. Do you feel guilty? Do you feel like you should be working instead? Do you feel like you don't deserve it? Do you feel like it costs too much money? So this training at its core is about money. So if you are like, oh, I want to get self-care, but I can't because like it's going to be $30 to get $25 to get a pedicure, and I got to, go get this instead because blah, blah, blah. Okay, I know that that's important, but at the same time, when you take the money to invest in something for you, you will be in that state of source. You'll be higher. You will be attracting more money in abundance, and money will come to you when you need it for that thing that you thought you needed to spend it on, okay? Spend it on you. I'm not saying there is a line between being irresponsible, like having a shopping addiction or something like that, or just spending anything on yourself. I have a friend who absolutely will not spend any money on herself. She just will not spend money on herself. She can't. We went to a store, and she tried on these boots, and they were really, really cute. And she was like, I need to buy boots for my daughter first. And I was like, why don't you buy these? And then when you go with your daughter to get shoes, you can buy her boots as well. And she couldn't do it. So like I said, you teach your children how to take care of themselves by taking care of yourself. Her daughter needs to see her coming home with her boots and being like, look, ladies, look, babies, to her daughters. Look what I did for myself. So they go, oh, me too. You know, they're not going to look at her in her boots and say, I want some. No way. Mom gets to have fun. They would love it, right? And so it's important that we embrace that, okay? David Michael says, self-care is like putting gas in your car. That could be. I mean, literally or figuratively. Hi, Francis. Welcome. Okay, so one thing I wanted to point out another thing I wanted to mention is that I am so committed to self-care, and I believe that self-care is so important to me that I write off my self-care. Okay, so there's certain things you can't write off, but I just want to use this as an example so you guys know how much self-care means to me and how important it is in my business. So I'm a psychic, I am an energy healer, I'm an energy clearer, I do everything through my body. So when I meet with someone, I can look at people and tap into their, I won't do it without permission, but I can look at people, tap into their soul, tap into their energy bodies, and remove anything that's there that's not serving them, or see what's actually bothering them. So they may come to me because like, oh, I'm having money issues, and I'll be like, oh, you're holding on to resentment for your mother, and it's in your right hip. We need to remove that, okay? So I will see these blocks and remove them. It could be past life, it could be this life. And sometimes it is because I do this work where it comes through my body and I feel it through my body. I get regular massages, I get regular chiropractor, I get regular manicures and pedicures, and I used to get regular acupuncture. I don't anymore, but I write off my massages and I write off my massages and my chiropractor, because in order for my body to be running at tip-top shape, in order for me to do what I have to do in my business, I need to do self-care in order to be to be source. If I'm helping people heal themselves and empowering people to heal themselves, how do you think it would look if I came in disheveled, or if I came in complaining, or if I came in with my back out of whack, or if I called if I had a bunch of clients that day and I had to call and say, sorry, my back's out? It's because I didn't take care of myself. So it's important to take care of yourself so you can show up as source, show up as the impactful human you're here to be, whether it's working as a manager at Burger King or at Home Depot or a CEO of a company, okay? So for me, I will write off my massages and chiropractor because it's that important. So I just want you guys to know that that's an example of shifting the frame of how important self-care is in your life. It's not just a pretty bubble bath, which is an amazing way to have self-care. Not saying that's bad, okay? One more thing I want to mention and talk about before we go is simple self-care. So when I was thinking about self-care, I was looking for images online because I posted about this video about a few hours ago. Excuse me. And when I posted about the video, I was looking for pictures to put up, right? So I was looking for pictures and I saw this infographic that talked about simple self-care, and I really loved it. And what it said was, simple self-care. Look at something nice. Smell something nice. Feel something nice. Listen to something nice. Taste something nice. So if you don't know what self-care looks like for you, and you're in struggle mode, and you feel like you need to do, and you're crying in your car, stop for a minute and say, what's something nice I can look at? Drive to a state park, drive up to a canyon, into the canyon, drive somewhere, and just look at something beautiful. Okay? Smell something nice. Go to a garden. Find some flowers. Just look upon them and smell them. Simple self-care. Feel something nice. Go to Goodwill and buy a fuzzy sweater for $2 and put it on and go, Go home and surround yourself with stuffed animals. Just like a kid would when they put all their stuffed animals on their bed and jump on the bed, and do that. Feel something nice. Listen to something nice. What music do you love? Go into your room, shut the door, put all your stuffed animals on your bed, jump on the bed, fall into the pile, and listen to whatever music you want to listen to, right? Taste something nice. So if you want a nice, healthy salad filled with protein, go get a nice healthy salad filled with protein. If you want to go get a fat burger in your sweatpants, go get a fat burger in your sweatpants. Okay, so simple self-care. And I really love that, and I wanted to bring that into the session. So it's important when you do a training like this, after it's over, I don't think, you might not feel it now, but after it's over, you're gonna feel like something's missing, because we've been talking and we've been having this comfortable, safe attachment for a full week now, which has actually to me felt like a month, and it's felt so beautiful and loving. But you may feel a little bit of like stagnancy, or what happened, or the support's gone. That's why I create the 12-week master course, so that we can have support afterwards. Love you guys so much. Go get some self-care. Go relax with your family. Thank you for showing up for yourself every day in these trainings. You're amazing. You amaze me, and I love our connection. Reach out, connect, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Okay, bye guys.